Oh man, Overwatch. So initially, I was quite impressed that they managed to hold with the 9-week season schedule. But a few people told me that I should really look into things a bit deeper. The first thing that I did was find a graph. And I think that graph tells a story. This is Overwatch 2's peak and average daily viewers on Twitch between the 4th of October and Monday the 12th of June. As you can see, this trend line just goes down and it keeps on going down. And as we'll find out later, this is actually very different to a lot of games that are pretty much Overwatch 2's contemporaries. So with Blizzard marketing Season 6 in a way that was quite a backfire and the game's most recent season being somewhat of a backfire, it's time to dive in and see just what is going on with Overwatch 2. Can Blizzard actually turn things around, and why has it got to this pretty rocky situation? Of course, with the help of our sponsor. Would you like to save money, access more content, and be more secure? Well, today's sponsor, nordvpn.com/Bellular News, does just that, and it's available at my link. Every 2-year plan gets a month bonus on top, and they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. Of course, Nord lets you browse the web from anywhere, and this time, my focus is on travel, right? Ticket prices for things like airlines, rental cars are optimized based on regional demand and a bunch of other factors like, are you in the airline's home country, national wealth? So if you clear your cookies and use NordVPN to shop around by changing your region, you can actually benefit big time from those regional price differences. Right now, I'm organizing our trip to Gamescom this August, and I certainly would not do that without using Nord to shop around because I always want to get the best deal that I can. I've easily made my Nord subscription back doing this a few times. Of course, they keep you private, they stop your ISP from snooping, they've got fantastic threat protection services and new great features like MeshNet, and it's all in their app and browser extension that are super easy to use. And you can get a month off with a 2-year plan at nordvpn.com/Bellular News with 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks to them for supporting the show. Let's get to the video. The rather rocky Season 4 is being followed up by Season 5. Season 5 has in fact just launched. And when we go through how Blizzard are communicating a lot of the value proposition, I think you're going to notice a pattern. So, it's got a fantasy theme, as you can see from this pretty damn nice looking Tracer skin. And in particular, there's a key quest, right? So key quest events take place over the course of the season, and these will see players completing things in normal modes or in the new Overwatch Workshop creator-designed Defeat the Demon Lord mode. Now, if you beat 5 of these quests, you get 1,500 legacy currency, that is to buy all skins from Overwatch 1, and 20,000 Battle Pass XP. Now, why would you care about the Battle Pass XP? Well, I mean, you're supposed to, but also, they've changed up how the Mythic skin works, where the Mythic skin now actually takes up 3 slots on the Battle Pass, at tiers 45, 65, and 80, with each one of those giving you a different version of the skin, compared to the old model where it was just Battle Pass rank 80 to get the skin, and in previous ones, 45 would be the new character for free, or it would be credits or souvenirs, and then the 65 tier would be credits, name cards, and emotes. So, this basically isn't displacing any important rewards, it is an additive thing, and it does make me wonder, did Blizzard just find people dropping off before they got the Mythic skin? Did they start to get worried that maybe that was creating a negative player experience, the sort of thing that wouldn't be good for retention? I mean, if you purchase a Battle Pass intending to get that Mythic skin, fall short, and don't feel like turning in a bunch of money to buy tier skips, that's going to be a negative experience, and that will make you a lot less likely to buy the next Battle Pass. So I've got to wonder if they're doing that. In terms of events, Summer Games is back, but there's a twist. So it's volleyball alongside one earnable Tropical Doomfist skin and 50,000 Battle Pass XP, alongside a little bit of a tease of a Mercy skin that they say is sure to make a splash. Prop Hunt is also back as a time-limited mode. It's basically guards hunting rogues. Pretty neat. It gets you an Epic Ana skin and 50,000 Battle Pass XP. Can you see the theme here? As for some other updates, right, Competitive Mystery Hero is back. On Fire is back, like the actual effect for when someone's doing really well. 5-player Team Q, regardless of ranking differences, is also going up in the mid-season competitive mode, and there's also weekly challenge changes where progress is no longer reset at the end of the week, and win-based challenges have been updated to play match challenges, but where a win counts as 2. So they want that to be something that I think is a bit more realistically attainable, right? Or at least sort of cutting out the floor of just, oh dear, this is a massive losing streak. I don't feel like I can complete the weekly challenge, and then the weekly challenge will expire. Of course, if you did your weekly challenges diligently, you'll have only just got enough Overwatch credits to get a legendary skin. So again, it's a bit weird with how those work. Then in terms of free stuff, we've got some legacy cosmetics that are being temporarily given away on the shop. And then for Twitch and Amazon Prime stuff, there are Twitch drops for the World Cup from June 18th to July 2nd. 5 Battle Pass tier skips if you watch from July 11th onwards, and you can buy 3 gifts for a participating streamer to get a legendary Zarya skin between July 24th and August 9th. And then on Prime Gaming, we've got 5 free Battle Pass tier skips, and later on there will be a legendary Reinhardt skin. So that is a lot of stuff. You'll also note that plenty of it is about Twitch, okay? I want you to remember the graph I showed at the very start of this video, where those Twitch numbers are not good. And remember, Overwatch has consistently been trying to juice up Twitch numbers, right? And juice up that participation via drops. So keep that in mind. Now, as we go to analyze everything that I've talked about here, well, there is quite a lot. The weekly challenge change is actually quite welcome, so that is good, but there's a lot here in terms of the retention techniques. When you look at these events, it really does seem like the big exciting thing about the event in some ways is just, oh, 50,000 XP, that's going to be relatively easier to get. And in fairness to Blizzard, that actually will make an event feel good. Think about the design of a battle pass, and one of the things that they want you to do. A battle pass exists to basically create a relationship between the time you spend in the game and the sort of reward output that you get. Now, the monetization angle there is, of course, you get the better rewards or the chance of better rewards by buying the battle pass, and then you can buy the tier skips. Those tier skips are a very direct time equals money. It's pretty much what is my hourly rate and how long does it take for me to earn a tier? Does that feel reasonably priced? And for a lot of very high net worth individuals, I suppose it does end up being like that. So that means that when an event is offering accelerated progress because there's a bunch of XP, that actually will get people back in, because to them it is almost like getting a bunch of almost free tier skips, and they feel like they can progress really quickly. Again, with the Mythic Tracer, you can get that, its first version, a good bit earlier. I think that is designed to counteract negatives of the previous system, but also to keep people kind of egged on. Maybe it is just the case that too few people were actually achieving tier 80 in the past. Probably realized that was a bad experience. Then, the 5 key quests being available through the season, those are all required for the reward, so that's kind of constant check-ins during the season. So that's another way that they're doing this. Of course, same goes with the free weekly stuff in the shop, and also the stuff that is on Prime and Twitch. All of these reasons to, every week, every 2 weeks, log into Overwatch for some form of reason. And this tweak in how the game is being operated, I think it does reflect part of how Season 4 did not go that well. So in Season 4, Starwatch was not particularly liked, and the new hero didn't really go down well. And it's the sort of thing, look, it's fine, you can play the games in the modes. But like, if you don't like the new hero, maybe you also don't like the new mode, then you really are going to feel down on the season, and that might just leave you stepping away from the game. Whereas here, we're seeing a bunch of more artificial retention techniques that are giving you an extremely clear and attainable value, all framed within you being able to extract value from the battle pass that you've already paid for. Now, all this then is interesting because they've not necessarily been having a great time with the community. Slow changes and issues. So let's talk about the state of Overwatch as it stands right now. There's been a recent Balance blog post from Alan Keller, who is the game director. basically, it does mention a lot of community frustrations. They definitely know, and they are eventually going to fix all of these problems. So, what's going on in Season 5? Well, number one, there are nerfs to Junker Queen as the most picked tank, and then Lifeweaver changes are coming, but these are bizarre, right? So, there are buffs to healing and damage, a reduced hitbox, some quality of information, I believe, work being done on his petals, but actually not enough people are playing him for the Overwatch team to actually understand what is truly needed for the character. And I think that really just shows that maybe you've got some more fundamental design issues there, and maybe you need a little bit of a rework. Depends. Maybe it is just a tuning issue, and they'll learn. In terms of other things, they do want fewer one-shot kills, so they're nerfing Widowmaker and Hanzo. And they're also softly reverting some of their CC changes. So for Mei, her gun will actually slow people, and then Cassidy is getting a slow and ability silence effect on his grenades. I believe when the game shipped, that was a stun, so it being a slow is not fully back to where we were, but yeah, certainly interesting. So these are all solid changes that are based on player requests. For a lot of people, though, they've been a long time coming, right? I mean, originally, they said they didn't want the game to feel like you were in a pinball machine in the 5v5 matches when there's so much CC going on, like with how the game would have been otherwise. But the thing is, for them to slightly relent on that, it's taken like 9 months. And I think the biggest problem is Lifeweaver. So Overwatch released a hero 9 weeks ago, and his numbers are shocking, because in console he has a 0.32% pick rate, and in PC a 0.86% pick rate. He is the lowest picked hero on both of those platforms. And remember, people pay for the Battle Pass to get this hero unlocked on day one. Buy the Battle Pass, they find out the hero is super niche and also is undertuned. That is going to make someone feel pretty damn bad about their purchase, and for a lot of people they're wondering, why did Blizzard not fix up Lifeweaver sooner? Surely some tuning could have been done to increase the pick rate and increase the viability. Did they release Lifeweaver when he basically wasn't ready? And that brings us to the 9-week problem. There are many analogies here about steering ships, I suppose. Maybe your ship is humongous and bulky and therefore turns quite slowly. Or maybe your ship isn't humongous, but it's going super fast. So, if you try to turn it too quick, it flips over, capsizes, and everyone drowns. Which, mixture of those seems to be what's going on with Overwatch. Because the 9-week per season thing is blisteringly fast, and I think it has been impressive that the development team has been able to release all the content that they have over the course of these seasons, while also, of course, working on getting that PvE stuff into the game, albeit, yes, in its diminished and paid for state. But still, it is a lot of actual development work being done. But what's the cost? Well, it is that you don't have space to pivot, and that you've set firm expectations for players around delivery. So, you have to march to this drumbeat, and if time needs to be taken to fix a problem, maybe that comes away from your next season. But because seasons are every 9 weeks, you can't delay that season. Therefore, you're just going to have to let loads of fires burn in the live game, because basically, you can't steer your ship in a nimble way, because it's going so goddamn fast. That's essentially the thing here. Rebuilding a character takes work. You've got to look at the data you've got. You've got to search for feedback. You've got to read forums. You've got to watch YouTube videos. You've got to listen to that feedback. You've then got to find who actually likes the character. Who are the people that are maining this character? Why are they doing that even though it's got a tiny pick rate? What can we learn? All of that takes actual time. And that's really hard when, as soon as a season comes out, well, there's immediately another season that's got to come out. So from an operational standpoint, like, there's no wonder that there is a pretty severe lag time on things like changes to characters, given the absurd amount of stuff that this development team is almost certainly having to juggle with. And of course, add to all this stuff, maps being removed for balance reasons or reworks, characters needing nerfs in the live game or things like that to fix ongoing problems. Like, even keeping up the bare minimum is probably quite taxing given the brisk pace of this game. So from the player perspective, then, it's a case of, well, why aren't these fixes coming in fast enough? And for the end user, if those fixes aren't there, that degrades the quality of the content. And they feel like it's a less good experience. And that means they become less engaged and more apathetic. And speaking of that, well, I think the Twitch viewership is a good number. There are so many games, that the ones that are truly legends, and yes, they wax and wane, but your LoL, Dota, Valorant, like so many of your esports titles, they just have their solid, consistent audience. Same for so many games. And that is why looking at Twitch is fairly interesting, especially now that we know Blizzard cares about it, given the sheer volume of rewards that they're blasting out on Twitch drops. Now, often what happens, of course, is a game comes out, it has a really big spike, and the thing that's actually telling is where does that game stabilize over time? And that is where things are worrying. So our lifetime viewer numbers, you were sub 500k by November, sub 250k by December, sub 150k by February, sub 100k by April. So perhaps the pace of the downturn is slowing, but look at this. So the top trend line here is like more about peaks and stuff. I wouldn't worry about that. What you want to do is the average player number trend line. And as you can see, that is going down and down and down and down. This is something that is really worrying. To me, that speaks to the idea of them not really having a stable audience yet. And this is worrying for a few reasons. In one of the recent quarterly earnings calls, I believe it was the one before the most recent one, they said that Overwatch 2 had brought engagement up to twice what it had been before the free-to-play launch. Now, I think about that, and I think like, wait, Q1, Q2, 2022 Overwatch must have been tiny. Who was playing that? The game, like Overwatch 1 was just dead. Not much was happening in it. Same for the quarters, if you were going to do a quarter for quarter, Q3 to Q3, Q4 to Q4, year over year, like those years in the year prior to this game coming out would have been small. So I was kind of worried that Overwatch only had that impact. Now we look at these numbers and it's like, yeah, where have the people gone? And if you think that this is just a very near-term thing, you can see a little bit of stabilization. To look at just this current, or the past season, season 4, you can see our averages are just below 20k and they are ending a little bit closer to 15k. So the bleeding has certainly slowed down, which is going to be vital for them. And maybe it shows that this is the kind of number that they get to stabilize around. And I think for Blizzard, that is not a particularly lovely thing. Let's compare it to some other things. We've got Call of Duty Warzone, Overwatch 2, Valorant, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So to take a look at Warzone, we see a big spike whenever Warzone 2 comes out. Now, Warzone had a bunch of drama, especially, Warzone 2, design changes that didn't resonate with everybody. They've actually dropped the 2 and rebranded. Perhaps that's responsible for some of these numbers going up. But anyway, that's Warzone. Then for Modern Warfare 2, yeah, of course, it's a bit smaller than Warzone. But yes, there's 2 of your Call of Duty products that are intermingled down there, along with Overwatch 2. So Overwatch 2, like, yes, it's getting more than Modern Warfare 2. It's generally less than Warzone, and it's continually decreasing. But the thing is, what should Blizzard really be competing with? And I've got to say, it's Valorant. Now, I know, as much as Valorant does in terms of having characters take a little bit of a leaf out of Overwatch, it obviously does appeal far more fundamentally to the Counter-Strike audience. Again, I would say, do you remember how big Overwatch was in Twitch in like 2016, 17, 18, maybe even 19? Like, it was big. And to see that, we look at Valorant and it's actually growing over time, or at the very least, it grew and has now been stable for like a pretty good period this year, just shy of maybe 150k concurrence. Like, that is what, 10x what Overwatch was averaging during season 4? That is really, really bad. Overwatch used to be the cream of the crop. Look how far it's fallen, and this is comparing free-to-play to free-to-play. I mean, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 isn't free-to-play, and there's actually times where it is very close to the free-to-play Overwatch 2. And I know Call of Duty's a big brand, but again, Overwatch 2 is free-to-play. It should be getting more numbers than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, especially when that audience is, in many cases, being siphoned over to Warzone, the free product. Like, this is kind of crazy. So, I mean, if I was a Blizzard, I'd be existentially worried by this. And it really doesn't help that PvE is happening the way that it has, because some PvE content coming out would be great. But instead, Blizzard are perhaps looking at all of these low numbers and thinking, yeah, we need the money, so let's charge people. Which, look, the idea of charging for content, very reasonable. I'm just saying that they're doing this from a position of weakness, from a fan base who maybe feels like they've been screwed around a lot, considering Season 4 was kinda rubbish, and also while Season 4 is being kinda rubbish, PvE in the way that they had initially wanted it died. So, as for the how does it get worse? Well, Season 6 finally continues the overall narrative with Overwatch and the Omnic War rather than being an alternate universe thing. There will be a free co-op mission that updates King's Row with new sort of arenas and story. Flashpoint is a new PvP mode that will effectively add King of the Hill gameplay to the game. Hero Mastery is going to be giving basically specific challenge experience for each hero, so that seems kind of cool. We've got a practice range in the firing range, so if you, I don't know, I always played Baptiste. If I wanted to just practice my tracking, practice, my ability to click heads, I could go there and do that instead of using an aim trainer. And of course, there will be a new hero. But the bad news, as we covered like 1 or 2 days ago, is that the PvE is paid. It is 3 30-ish minute long missions with new enemy variants, all in co-op with full storyline. It cannot be played in single player. Now, look, I think this content's probably going to be terrific. And if that $15 is fine for you for 3 30-minute missions, that's fair enough. You can buy it. I can totally get that, especially if you're going to get some replayability out of those missions. You could then say that that also comes with 1,000 Overwatch coins and a Sojourn legendary skin, that those have a value, but I mean, here I'm focused on the content, obviously. Technically, you're not paying $5 per mission, but you basically are paying $5 per mission. But the thing is, this will need to have incredible gameplay to justify this. This will need strong word of mouth, because you can't play it solo, and you have to play it with friends, and you can only play it with friends who have bought the pack. So even if this ends up being tremendously good content, for a lot of people, they're not going to feel like they can really trust going to Overwatch. So it's going to be harder to get those people to actually buy in. So to recap with Overwatch 2 then, we've had issues around players enjoying the content and also the sort of hit rate and certainly the pick rate of some of the new heroes that have been added into the game, especially Lifeweaver. We've got esports and viewership numbers being way down, showing that perhaps this game is struggling to hold people's attention. We have now retention models being used extremely liberally, artificial retention models, I would say, to keep people coming back when seemingly the gameplay itself isn't able to do that. And the PvE mode that I think could have activated a lot of uninterested Overwatch fans and actually got them to boot that up and actually to get them into the system, now that it does have that paywall, it's going to be harder, especially because you can't go in and play it yourself. So not only does a lapsed Overwatch 2 player have to pony up the money themselves, they've also got to convince their friends to do that. And if they are a lapsed player, then to be honest, a skin and 1,000 coins probably isn't going to be of much value to them because they haven't been engaging with those systems for ages. So overall then with Overwatch, I think that it all just reeks of a Blizzard that still feels like it's entitled to its success. I think they need to treat how they develop this game a little bit differently. They need to be more generous to actually get people back in. I mean, hey, you look at Valorant. Recently in a Diablo comparison video, I talked about how insanely expensive the Valorant guns are. And that's the thing. Man, you think Diablo armor is expensive? You should take a look at gun bundles for Valorant. It is, do you want to pay like $60 for a bunch of basically like vanilla Counter-Strike skins? Yeah, they're gonna ask you to do that. But the point is, look at Valorant's numbers. It's managed to get people in a way that Overwatch 2 just hasn't. And if I were Blizzard, I would be focusing on growth rather than money right now. You look at so many great companies, and I know that me saying this in the context of saying Amazon will, there's a lot of, I guess, like social issues and stuff wrapped up around Amazon, but we cannot deny that Amazon has been a extremely effective business. Now, a lot of that is because, and you can read Bezos's letters to shareholders going back years and years and years, a lot of it was his ability to convince the board, to convince shareholders that short-term profits didn't actually matter, that the thing that mattered was growth, and the way to get that growth was to have a better and better customer experience, which is why they, went into Prime, why they try to get the shipping rates down, and it's why on Amazon the return policy is I mean, the return policy at Amazon is downright exploitable because so much of it is automated and I think by default generous. But that's an example, right, of, you know, literal total big daddy capitalism, but it working fundamentally from a growth, customer service, then scale, then monetize sort of framework. Whereas here, when I look at Overwatch from a strategic position, I see that they have bungled their growth and that they are now sacrificing future growth in order to get some money in the short term. But ultimately, that, you know, I'm not here to say that living life a quarter mile at a time is a bad thing to do, but certainly in a business perspective, if your head is in the sand trying to make 9-week seasons work, your ability to focus on the hard things that matter is going to be reduced. I have a feeling that fundamentally that is the true thorn in Overwatch 2's side. Okay, let me know. Look, I'll see what this PV is like when it comes out. I will report back to you, and I'll probably fool around with this season as well. Because hey, I can go in, play as Baptiste, and feel like I'm basically John Halo with a battle rifle, which really is most of what I personally need from the game, considering I don't really spend any money in it. Yeah, bit weird, isn't it? Let me know what your experiences have been. If you want to check out some other videos, I've got plenty in the channel. One of our ones about Diablo, I mean, man, those have been very interesting to do. I'm currently working on my big end game, so look forward to that. Have a great day. See you next time.